Welcome to Rich Planet TV. I'm Richard D. Hall. Today I am going to be talking about the work of Nigel Kerner. Now, Nigel authored his first book in 1997 entitled The Song of the Greys. He wrote another book in 2010 entitled Grey Aliens and the Harvesting of Souls. Now, to discuss these books, I'm joined today by two of Nigel's researchers, Danielle Silverman. Welcome, Danielle.
Thank you.
And Professor John Biggerstaff. Welcome, John.
Hello, Richard. Given this scenario and what Nigel hypothesizes is that really in the same way that I mess with organisms on plates, that these guys were messing with us as a species, really looking for advantageous genetics. They only care about whether they can mess with our genes more efficiently. And it turns out that the molecule melanin, actually, you know, when we mess with genetics and stuff, one of the ways in which we can do it is to use things like ultraviolet light to actually splice the genes in the cells and actually alter the genetics, or to get things to, you know, things we've put in to actually take, so that we can almost microsurgically implant them in the cells. The thing is, if these cells have got a lot of melanin in them, it's a dark pigment, it tends to absorb that light and diffract it and turn it into vibrations, etc. And then the light just doesn't get where it's really supposed to go. And faster if deliberately put in there.
Right.
But there is a special, do you want to explain the special about melanin and how it protects the cell, the DNA inside the nucleus? That's very important.
Part of the reason you can't do these experiments, you know, where there's a lot of melanin around, the melanin actually in a lot of people, in black people, it's actually spread out through the skin. It spreads out through the cells and covers everything from the actions of the ultraviolet light.
There's no doubt in people with higher melanin, natural higher melanin, that it's far more likely that that melanin will be coating the nucleus, the cell wall of the nucleus of the DNA. Now, the point about that is that ultraviolet light, which is often used to splice DNA, is blocked by that melanin. It absorbs it. It doesn't allow it in to interfere with the DNA. And it could well be, and this is Nigel's thesis, that this was a blocker for them when they were trying to genetically alter the species. And therefore, when maybe just out of random mutation something like an albino came along, they discovered, wow, we can get straight in.
Right.
And it may well be that the paler skinned nation, people on the earth, maybe have that pale skin because of this genetic experimentation to make things easier for them to work on human DNA. And in fact, Professor Steve Jones argues that this thing about vitamin D being, paler skin being there to allow vitamin D to be absorbed and so on, all these theories about why pale skin happened in the first place, he believes it's not an adequate explanation. There is no real explanation or justification for the need for pale skin at all.
Yeah, because I think if
dark skin is always an advantage in every circumstance.
Right. As most people would just automatically assume, well, they went to live in the north where there's less sun,
yes,
so therefore their skin changed colour. But that's not the case.
According to Professor Steve Jones, an eminent professor of biology, that is absolute nonsense.
Right. Okay.
There's just no reason at all for pale skin.
You would want to absorb more light, and you know, I mean, why do we lose hair if we came to a colder climate, etc.
Yeah.
So obviously, something's wrong with that idea.
Right. All right. And Nigel contends that the white races, the northern European races, have probably had the most interference from this outside entity called the grey alien.
Yeah, and he doesn't say that. It's very important to say he doesn't say that from the point of view of a kind of reverse racism.
Right.
It's just he's letting us know that, right, that's there, you may need to do something about it,
right,
and maybe suggesting ways that we could do something about it. And if you look at the record of the European nations throughout history, in terms of colonialism, imperialism, and what the havoc they've wreaked on the world,
that point,
it makes the point
that
really.
It's the blue-eyed white races that have got their finger on the nuclear. Well, I mean, what about China? Because he mentions the Chinese as well, doesn't he? He says that they've had significant intervention. Am I right there?
That's right. Yes, there's been interception all across the board. They found ways of doing it, but the most efficient way to do it is on cell nucleuses that aren't protected by the melanin shield.
Okay. Right.
That's just the most efficient, easiest way to do it.
The more you look into melanin, the more that you are going to realize that eumelanin, which is what I have, African peoples have, Afro Negroes have, Bantu peoples have, dark-skinned indigenous people have. Anybody that has melanin of the darker pigment in their skin are the blueprint of the Most High. So the people who have the field melanin are not. Now, I understand when I bring out these things and I say white people are mutants and aliens and abominations, it's true. It doesn't mean I want to go oppress them because they're mutants and abominations. They made up lies about us so they could oppress us. See, I'm not like them. I'll bring out the facts. I'll bring out the facts and show you that even white people are saying that they're a lesser type of people. They're more connected to fallen beings and all this other stuff than black people are. But we are directly connected to Yahuwah, directly connected to him. And the melanin is proof there is a creator. White people do not exude that. So what does that tell you about them? They are abominations. They are walking abominations. And like I said, I know that probably hurts some people. But again, the truth is the truth. But just because you're a walking abomination doesn't mean that I want to beat you down and enslave you. I'm not like y'all. You fight with your feelings, I fight with facts. Check this out.
Get up.
This is a skull of a modern human, and this is from a Neanderthal. Look closely and you can see that this one has a slightly longer brain case. Most scientists believe that these are two separate species, and there wasn't much interaction between the two. But now we know there was interbreeding, and that all non-Africans living today are part Neanderthal. The researchers extracted DNA from Neanderthal fossils and compared it with that taken from people living today. They found that the DNA of Europeans and Asians is Neanderthal.
It's a very exciting discovery because it gives us really the first strong evidence that there was interbreeding with people like the Neanderthals. And it means that modern humans in different parts of the world may have slightly different mixes.
And the Neanderthal in me has always said Neanderthal, I stand quite corrected.
There are many jokes about people behaving like Neanderthals, but it seems the joke could be on us.
The result indicated that Neanderthals were genetically closer to Europeans and Asians than they were to Africans. It meant that somewhere along the line, European and Asian humans had picked up Neanderthal DNA.
So that was sort of quite shaking to me. I thought this must be a statistical fluke. It was not quite significant. This will surely go away when we have more.
Every black girl grew up knowing being clean wasn't just about hygiene. It was about dignity. From the time we were little, we were taught that being clean wasn't optional. We used washcloths, exfoliated and slathered on lotion like it was law.
Do you use a washcloth? No, me either.
I think
disgusting.
Am I scrubbing my body with a washcloth?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
I know. I think we're
like a UTI waiting to happen.
I think we're in the minority. I really do.
People use washcloths?
I think so.
Like for their body?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like, what are you washing your butt with?
My hands.
For black women, hygiene has always been more than just self-care. It's perception. Harmful stereotypes have painted black people as unclean. These narratives weren't just offensive, they shaped the way we navigated the world. Hygiene, amongst other things, became a collective responsibility, not just a personal one. Ironically, African Moors significantly influenced hygiene practices in medieval Europe.
You lather up your hands and then use your hands.
What?
How are you using soap?
Many Europeans avoided bathing due to superstitions linking water to disease. Queen Isabella I of Castile claimed she had only bathed twice in her life. Once at birth and once before her wedding. European nobility at the time often practiced dry hygiene, such as changing linen undergarments frequently and using perfumes and scented cloths to mask odor. You just gonna put the perfume on the must. We don't do that. Unlike our non-black counterparts, we aren't afforded the luxury of being seen as individuals. When one of us is judged, often that judgment extends to all of us. In our communities, we're often harder on one another. There's this pressure to be spotless. Racism made hygiene a defense mechanism. Ashy skin, unacceptable. Smelling anything less than fresh, never an option. But then we grow up and we hear our non-black counterparts casually admit that they don't shower every day.
Well, I only take like one shower every 6 days, so.
I made the conscious decision to stop washing my hands. I think when I was in college. Was it college for you? I don't know. That's when I remember it, because one of my good friends from college also doesn't wash her hands, and it was like how we had that bonding experience. One day I was like, I'm just not gonna wash them. She was like, I'm not either. I don't wash my hands.
I don't really trust people that wash their hands because, well, one, I don't think it does anything.
And yet their personal hygiene habits are seen as just that, personal. Meanwhile, for us, it has never been that simple. And while others debate hygiene as a personal preference, we understand self-care is a statement. We turn hygiene into a luxury, a love language, a commitment to our well-being, our presentation, and in many ways, our shared dignity. Remember, there are little girls with no guidance. Hopefully you can pull them to the side and help them, not to embarrass them, to protect.
If you think about it, the things that they say about black men are not valid. You know, globally, the biggest threat to humans are old white males. You know, if you really think about it, black men don't do anything to no one but themselves. You know, so when you get on the elevator, you have no reason to clench your purse. What we should do is clench our culture. You feel what I'm saying? Like, we're not the threat. But to make them feel better about what they do to people globally. And what I always do is I ask people, I said, you know, Native Americans are indigenous to this land. I said, well, when the last time you seen a Native American in garb? Buffaloes are indigenous to this land. When the last time you seen a buffalo? Because white men killed them all. You know, you go just about anywhere on this globe, man. You look at the Tasmanian people. They literally don't exist anymore because of white men, but because they control history and they control the news and they control the magazines, they are able to forecast who they want to be the true threat. And perception is a motherfucker. And the sad thing is that we've bought into it. We actually believe that we're a problem. And the only reason why we hate ourselves the way that we hate ourselves is because most black people see themselves through the eyes of white people. They don't notice it. That's why it's so easy to call each other niggas. We're nigga because we want to act like white men and like slave masters. Like, why would you want to call yourself the most wretched word that pertains to black people? Why would you want to call yourself a nigga? And we don't even know why we hate ourselves the way that we do. You know, most of the things that we do in fashion are to try to make us look like white folks. I ain't no black. Straighten our skin, straighten our hair. Our hair grows towards God. It grows towards the sun like a plant. Everything that dies grows towards the ground. And black folks do everything they can to kill the male, to kill their hair. You know, and we are the closest thing to God.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget you can support this channel by Cash App, $Malkaya Music. Also be sure to check out the Patreon for uncensored documentaries, films, deep dives, and much more content that you won't find here on YouTube. Check out the merch store for the latest strip. And let me not forget to say, if you haven't already, subscribe and hit that like button and tap in with us. All praises to the Most High, Yahuwah, the highest. Shalom.